Aquidneck Lane, East Main Road, Middletown. The Bowling Academy, Taunton Avenue, East Providence. Dewdeck Lanes, Child Street, Warren. Hearthside Lanes, Putnam Pike, Route 44, Greenville. Max Bowlaway, Main Street, West Warwick. Town Hall Lanes, Atwood Avenue, Johnston. And Wickford Lanes, Post Road, North Kingstown. And sponsored by the Scorpion Pro Rubber Ball at your pro shop now from Paramount. And by Kingston Power Tool. Stand by for Duckpin Bowling.
It's exciting, it's entertaining, it's challenging, it's fun. It's Duckpin Magic. Duckpin bowling is lots of fun for the whole family. There's no need to be an expert. Duckpin bowling is easy to learn.
Duckpin bowling fans, and welcome to stop number 6 on our Duckpin bowling show, and we're at Max Bowlaway on Main Street in West Warwick. I'm Lee Russo, and I'll be doing the play-by-play today. And our first match is ready to get underway. Our challenger, Gary Manson, will be going up against the young man that you see up on the lanes now, Michael Aguiar. And Michael is out of Fall River, bowls out of the Waco lanes. And this is Michael's first appearance on television, and he starts things right off with a strike in the first frame. And Gary Manson now looking at that strike posted by Michael in the first frame. And Gary earned his way here in a roll-off this morning. And I'll get the results of that roll-off and how Gary made it here in just a minute. Gary bowls out of Town Hall Lanes in Johnston, Rhode Island. And that was the scene of our first stop. This is Gary's second appearance on our show, and he finished second at Wickford Lanes in one of our previous stops. And we're coming to you today from Max Bowlaway on Main Street in West Warwick. And we'll be coming to you from Max for the next 4 weeks. And Gary Manson starts off with a 9 in his first frame. And Gary gets the strike, second frame, so both bowlers starting off in good form this morning. Michael now working on his strike that he posted in the first frame. And almost picked a spare. Now working for the 10. And goes by. So Michael now will move to 28 in the first 2 frames.
Mike is our 12th seed in the tournament. He seeded 12th with a 5-string score of 717 in the roll-off. And Gary Manson, as you told everybody, had to earn his way into the television program. He tied with John DeRamo. They both had 698s. Tied for last position. We had a roll-off just before we went on the air.
And that's Mike Davis, our producer, and also in the booth here with me, filling you in on some of the information on both Mike and Gary.
And Gary and John had a roll-off just before we went on the air. Gary 135, John 114. So that determined who made the last position into our month here from Max Bowlaway.
All right, Mike now working on the last 2 pins, and he'll have to settle for an 8. So after opening up with the strike in the first frame, Mike has hit 2 open frames, and Gary Manson now with a chance to close up that lead that Mike had opened in the first frame with the strike. And Gary with that good action ball dumps him from the back. And you'll see a lot of that from Gary Manson, Mike, because that's the type of ball that he throws, that reverse spin ball.
Now, the viewers who are just joining Duckpin Bowling and watching it for the first time will not have seen Gary before, but we've seen Gary before in our telecast, and he's one of the better bowlers around the state.
Gary practices a lot, and that's what it takes to become a top bowler in Duckpin Bowling, and Gary has come a long way in the last few years, now a member of the Men's Pro Tour. Gary now working on the last 2 pins. And he gets his 10. He was shooting at the 6, 9, 10, the basket in the corner, and pulled out the 1 pin. So Gary now moves to 64 through 4 frames. And Mike Aguiar now working to close the gap. Needs a mark here of some type. And good old chop, as we call it in duckpin bowling, the 1-5.
And if Gary is successful in challenging Mike, and if Mike doesn't tighten up a little bit, it may come to pass, Gary will return later in the telecast today to challenge Lou Sarkisian.
And we've seen Lou on our show a number of times before.
And very impressive, I might add. So whoever gets to challenge Lou Sarkisian has a challenge on their hands.
That's for sure, Mike. And we're through 4 frames here now, and Gary Manson with a 20-pin lead through the first 4 frames. And Mike Aguiar now on the left side and goes over to the 1-2 side and still can't get anything decent to shoot at. Has the 5 pins left in the corner. And cuts out. Looks like he's rushing just a little bit, Mike. Getting to the line a little too quick. And see if Mike can slow it down a little bit here and get his rhythm together. Gets to 10. He's going to need a little bit more than 10 boxes here to catch Gary Manson. Gary now on the right side, and Gary throws another strike. And we're going to cut away here for a few words from our tournament sponsors.
The tag on that spot from the Perella Company, Paramount Bowling Supply, and you'll notice Gary is using that Paramount Pro Rubber ball. That's become the ball of choice of the pros now, and anyone who wants to bowl like a pro.
Well, Paramount has always been the forerunner in duckpin bowling balls, and especially with the changes in the lane dressings and the changes in the pins themselves, the choice of the bowling ball is very, very important. And if you stop in at any one of your local proprietors, they can help you pick the bowling ball that will best suit your type of bowling, Mike. All right, Gary misses the 1 pinner. Has a sizable lead, though, as he moves to 92 through 6 frames. And Mike Aguiar now 54 through 5, so he's going to have to get untracked here and put a few marks on the board. Mike throws the good hard straight ball, brings it in from the right-hand side of the lane. Drops it about 2 or 3 boards in, and then brings it in tight to the head pin. It's a very important spare for Mike. Shooting at the 2 and the 4, and he goes by it on the right-hand side.
I think that happens when you try not to hit that lead pin too solid. You want to back off a little bit. That's the way you want to do it the first time, I'm sure.
It's always easier with the 3rd ball anyway, as all duckpin fans know. So he picks the wood. Now trailing Gary Manson by 28 pins here through 6 frames. Move to frame number 7. And there's what Mike needed. So that spare that he missed in the 6th frame cost him 10 pins as he moved over to the left-hand side through the strike. So we still have a long way to go in this match, and Mike's going to have to put a couple of those together. But Gary Manson certainly has other ideas as he throws another strike. And Gary Manson now with 4 marks through 7 frames, and all 4 of them strikes. And all 5 of them strikes. And when Gary Manson starts to roll strikes, Mike, that's big trouble.
I think it's important to mention at this moment, although I'd rather that Gary didn't hear us because I don't want to psych him. No, I'm not being cute about this. Starting with this week's telecast and in all future weeks, 3 strikes in a row, you get an automatic $25 cash bonus, regardless of whether you win or lose, and each succeeding strike will get another $25 bonus. At the moment, Gary has, for the 2nd time in this string, put 2 strikes back to back. If he does it 1 more time, there'll be $25 cash in his pocket. 1 more time, and there'll be 50. 1 more time, and there'll be 75.
right. Meanwhile, Mike, refusing to quit, he
Still got room, Mike.
fills his strike with the spare, so he moves to 84 through frame number 7. He's going to need some strikes, though, here to stay close enough to Gary in the final 2 frames. Again, off to the left, a little thin on the 1-2 side. Needs the spare to stay close. He now has 100 through 8 boxes. It's a tough spare. And 10-pin refuses to be nudged over, so Mike will work for the wood. 10 box here will bring him to 110 through 9 frames. And he does, so he has 110 through 9 frames.
Now let's watch Gary. Remember that a strike is worth an automatic $25, and each succeeding strike worth another $25. Here we go. Oh my.
Mike, we should give him the 25 anyway, because it was a heck of a try. No good, huh? I guess not. Our producer Mike is not that easy to get $25 out of him.
And I might mention that you can see in the background of the frame Steve Iavarone, who's here this week watching Gary Manson, because if Gary can successfully challenge Lou Sarkisian later today, in 1 month, it's Steve.
Steve is known as the Guns of Iavarone.
Oh, thank you. I knew it was some kind of heavy artillery. Well, he's waiting. And he's going to meet today's winner 1 month from today on Duckpin Bowling.
Well, to say the least, we'd have 2 bowlers who know how to throw strikes. All right, this match is over. It's Gary Manson now finishing with a spare. It moves him to 160. The most that Mike Aguirre can go would be 140. So Gary Manson will move on to challenge Lou Sarkisian in our match later on today. And Gary finishes with 8, so he'll finish up with a 168. Nice game by Gary Manson.
I have a feeling we're going to see some high-scoring duckpin bowling in the next month at Max Bowlaway in West Warwick. We started our first match of the first week with a 168. Nowhere to go but up.
Well, Mike, it shows by the qualifying scores that were thrown. Some of the highest qualifying scores we've had on any of our stops, so probably be right about that.
Gary Manson beat his high single in the qualifying. His high single in the qualifying was 161. Mike Aguirre's high single was 157, so he's not going to make his high single qualifying today.
Mike Aguirre finishes with a 120, so Gary Manson will move on to challenge Lou Sarkisian.
And we'll return after these messages with today's women's match. Debbie LaCroix challenging Lori Cabral.
With your match here today, and it's going to feature Lori Cabral against Debbie LaCroix. And we just saw Gary Manson eliminate Mike Aguirre in a very exciting match, Al. And now we have 2 real fine lady bowlers here. And, well, no sooner said than done, and Lori Cabral starts off with a strike.
Lori Cabral with a backdoor strike to start off. That'll take away any jitters she may have, although she is familiar with this.
And now Debbie LaCroix, a very catchy last name, we'll explain that in a moment, had to earn her way into today's television match. She was tied for the last qualifying position in the roll-off, which we held, incidentally, on December 9th and 10th, 1985. And she had to roll off just prior to the television taping.
And, of course, obviously she won, as did Gary Manson before we began taping today. So Debbie LaCroix had to work a little extra harder to get here. And
she's already bowled 1 game. She comes out with a 9 box. Debbie qualified with a 626 5-game total, which included a 163 game. So Debbie can string them out.
And Debbie, of course, as many of our viewers may not know, is the wife of Roger LaCroix, proprietor of Max Bowlaway, where we happen to be originating from all this month, the next 6 weeks, and that, of course, makes her the daughter-in-law of the late but very beloved Emile LaCroix, a famous name in the annals of duckpin bowling in Rhode Island.
Duckpin Hall of Famer.
And, of course, Debbie has all of her fans here today rooting for her, so she will be the hometown favorite in this match against Laurie Cabral. Okay, so she starts off with 2 9 boxes in the first and second frame. Probably needs a little time now to shake out the butterflies, and I'm sure she'll be right on track.
You know, I think it's really tough to be a hometown favorite. I think Donna Carlson had that problem at Hotside, although she came through. But she said that made it an extra special event. And you really want to do well in front of your hometown people.
Boy, that's for sure. And speaking of Donna Carlson, Laurie and Debbie are rolling off for the opportunity to meet Donna Carlson in our next match.
And I might mention that because they don't get enough credit, the unsung and unseen heroes of duckpin bowling on television are alternates. Debbie rolled off earlier, just before we started the taping, Shelley LaRoche.
Another Max Bowlaway favorite here. So
everyone should remember that Shelley LaRoche was the first alternate from our last monthly series at the Bowling Academy in East Providence. So unfortunately, the perennial bridesmaid in our television tournament, Shelley came within a pin or two of being on television from the Max Bowlaway series, and may yet, because remember that our alternates are paid according to NDBC sanctioned ratios and get all of the same emoluments and prizes as our television bowlers, because they stand by week after week lest any of our bowlers be unable to continue competition.
And speaking of extra gifts, Mike, I see your elbow on a great little cookbook here that has been donated.
That's right. For the next 6 weeks, all of our women bowlers will be getting courtesy copies of Pat Grattan's Among Ourselves 2 cookbook.
All right.
And Pat Grattan, as anyone knows who watches cable television, is a noted cable television economist and radio economist and syndicated newspaper columnist. She sold the Among Ourselves cookbook and sold it right out of 3 printings, and now she's come out with the Among Ourselves 2 cookbook.
And all of our ladies today, and in the next 6 weeks competing, will receive a complimentary copy of Among Ourselves Cookbook 2.
Meanwhile, Deborah LaCroix is going to town while we're doing all of the reciprocal trade plugs here.
Debbie got a spare in the third box. She's cutting into a 9-pin lead that Laurie Cabral has.
Oh, tough break right through the middle, Al. It was a good ball, just heavy on the head pin. That cuts the lead to 5. Should be working for the wood. We'll be trying to pick the 3 on the left side of the lane, so she doesn't give away too much wood to the box. And it looks like she'll get the 3, so she'll finish with an 8. That brings her to 40 through the first 4 frames. And Laurie Cabral now, frame number 4, with a 5-pin lead.
Laurie Cabral also rips the middle for 5. Laurie was our 6th qualifier. She had a 5-game total of 634, which included very steady games. Our high game was only 145, so she bowled very steady all the way through the 5 games to make it here.
And, of course, Laurie's been with us on a number of occasions before, so she's very familiar to our past duckpin viewers. And for those of you who are just joining us or maybe seeing us for the first time, Laurie is one of the finer women bowlers in the state of Rhode Island.
Laurie threw a real great 1-2 pocket hit. That seems to be her pocket. Looking at Laurie's bio, she's got a high single of 203 and a high 3 of 492. But looking at her leagues, one of her leagues she puts down is a men's league where she is the only woman bowler.
All right, so Laurie nails down the 10-pin for her spare in the 5th frame. And Debbie LaCroix now, after that tough box in the 4th where she cut through the middle, picked the wood for 8. Trying to get back on the spare or strike path. Probably feeling just a little bit of the butterflies, Al. I know you were with her yesterday. You threw a few practice games here with her yesterday, and I guess it's pretty tough up there first time.
Oh, yeah.
That'll make you feel better.
That'll make you feel a lot better. Yes, Debbie and I spent a few hours yesterday trying to work out certain things. Not that I'm any help, but she was throwing the ball rather well towards the end of our session yesterday.
You know, right now she's right in the match. Only 4 pins separate the two bowlers. A nice ball, but no luck on the break. She leaves the 9 and the 10. Tough spare to make.
Debbie's going to go through. She's going to try to pick one now. She's taking a small lead. She can lose it as soon as Lori fills her spare in the 5th box.
She's going to take her 9. That's going to move her to 67, and we'll be back in just a moment.